Hello viewers, welcome to hcmguru.com once again. And today we are privileged to have Mr. Anindya Bhattacharyya. Allow me to take a minute talking about Mr. Anindya. He comes with a rich experience of 23 years into learning and development, capability development, and Salesforce excellence. And currently he is working with Cipla. Mr. Anindya, over to you, sir. We would like to have a brief introduction from your side.
No, it's my pleasure and privilege to be part of this interaction on the HC My Guru platform. I lead the sales and marketing academies in Cipla, which in other words means me and my team are responsible for driving the learning agenda for sales and marketing functions of Cipla. All in all, I have about a quarter century of corporate experience. Apart from healthcare, I also have experiences of working in other industries like consumer goods, both on the foods and personal care sector. So that's me. I'm very happy once again to be part of this interaction today.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Anandya. So today's topic, viewers, is about knowledge gaps, and we would all want to understand how important is knowledge gaps for all of us. So, Mr. Anandya, please tell us, viewers, what are the challenges you feel in your experience around knowledge gaps? What are those typical challenges?
So if you look at our industry, and it is unique in one way, and I have worked in a few more industries. Pharmaceutical industry is unique in the selling model we have, because only in this industry you'll find the buyer or the customer with which whom we are interacting is significantly more knowledgeable in the disease area, the therapy area, which you will typically not find in any other industries, because typically the seller is more knowledgeable than the buyer on the products. So since the customer is much more knowledgeable with many years of learning medical sciences, then many years of clinical practice, so there is already a gap between a pharmaceutical rep who is coming in with some learning experience versus who have to interact and have a meaningful interaction with the customer who is much more knowledgeable. So the very inherent equation here is inequitable in terms of the knowledge levels. So hence it becomes very important for us as learning leaders in the pharmaceutical industry to equip the person to be able to hold that conversation with the customer. Now that's my point number one to that. And because of this, inequity between what the seller has in terms of knowledge versus what the customer has, COVID has furthermore complicated the equation because because of restrictions in the number of patients the doctors can see and all that. So the time available for them to interact with the medical rep has reduced significantly. So unless you can add value to the conversation, which helps the HCP to better treat their patients, why would they be interested to talk to a medical rep is a big question. And hence, the cause or the business case for building more knowledge in the medical rep would be my answer to your question.
So, from your experience, what are those top tips or methods which you have incorporated and maybe helped you to overcome these challenges and be able to make a productive sales workforce?
Sure, absolutely. Happy to answer that great question. But before that, if I have to talk about the canvas on which we have to do the painting, which is Cipla, if you look at Cipla India business, we have almost 10,000 strong sales force. And if you look at that sales force, out of which almost 7,000 are individual contributors, that's a very geographically distributed field force. So they typically operate across more than 400 locations. Now, geographically distributed field force also have huge variations in terms of the product bags they carry. So we have 2,000 plus SKUs. So then there are certain teams who are selling products which to the patient cost significantly higher than other teams who are selling mass products. So how do you differentiate between the knowledge levels to be built in the different teams is another point. Yeah. Now, what has helped us is when we have to build as per a map. So what we did in 2017, we began this journey. We actually decided on the sales competencies for the different sales hierarchical roles. After deciding on the competencies, we actually did a competency assessment where our field force stood in terms of these competencies. Since then, we have recently concluded the fourth iteration of this annual competency assessments. And where we started from, there is a more than a 6 times, 7 times growth in the knowledge competencies, the skills competencies. Now, why this has happened, to my mind, the first success is we must have a base on which to build. At a large scale, you have to make choices what to build and what not to, or what to prioritize later. That's a very big point. So my recommendation would be, have a competency map or have a plan basis which you would be like to build this. Now, for us, such a highly distributed field force, at the same time, is also a question of how do you deliver that training? One is what to do. So, which is your map will tell where to focus what. Your baseline of the competency results will tell you which teams need more handholding. But there, the technology plays a very big important role, because you cannot afford to do a face-to-face training. And now we are not even talking about face-to-face training because of
And
COVID. But
in fact, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you. In fact, that's going to be my third question to you. In fact, that how learning technologies or the platforms in place are helping organizations like Cipla to enable and automate these competency frameworks, reach out to the distributed network spread across the country, even outer countries. So yes, so the viewers are interested to know that as well, Mr. India. So if you can throw some light on that as well.
absolutely. So one is from a user perspective, the learning platform, you may have any learning platform and all that. It has to perform a few things. First, it has to be user friendly, because you don't expect a seller who is already involved into a lot of other activities to ensure he or she delivers on what he is or she is supposed to deliver. It has to be intuitively simple. The second thing is the platform has to get you the ability to do multiple things, including doing the assessments, including pushing spaced bite-sized contents to that, including having a gamified platform which really engages the learner, because our average age of a salesperson is significantly lower, which means that their preferences for short bite-sized contents. At the same time, does the platform also throw you leaderboards where you can measure how you are faring versus your peers? Those are very important elements. And at the back end, the platform should be also able to give us the learning metrics, the learning history of individuals, groups, and teams, which then enables us to see how the teams are progressing on not only consumption but also effectiveness metrics, and thereby decide our learning strategies for the next leap. So we have a platform. We use actually Mindtickle platform to do that, which helps us do that. And not only that, we also use Missions, which is an AI-enabled detailing tool, which helps us, the rep, to actually record, and then that gets pushed into the manager to review. And at the same time, the AI-enabled engine also puts the AI-enabled feedback to them, how they're doing in terms of the diction, the keywords used, and all that. So this is, I would say, a mission critical to have the right technological tools to enable you to deploy the learning strategy, at the same time provide you metrics, backfill metrics, which helps you understand how well your learning strategy is working and what you need to tweak or change.
Very well said, Mr. Anindya. And to summarize what Mr. Bhattacharya just spoke about, that the technology is mission critical, should have a very user-friendly, intuitive interface, and features like leaderboards, AI-enabled suggestions, right, feedback to the managers, which in total creates a portal to enable and productive sales workforce. On this note, thank you so much, Mr. Anindya, for sparing good time and knowledge to all of us, and hope you viewers like this video. Once again, thank you so much for your time, Mr. Anindya.
Thank you so much. My pleasure and privilege.